Welcome to our Madison Park Board meeting. I call this meeting officially to order. Our first item agenda is approving the minutes from February. If we've had time to review those, I could use a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes as proposed from last month.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the claims, we've had a chance to ask Scott the questions on our claims, and everyone has signed it. I will make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
New business. Mr. Klein, do you have any new business for us?
No new business.
Okay. Okay, well then we'll just go right into your director's report.
Thank you. Don't say never bury the lead, so I'm not gonna bury the lead. I'm super excited to announce the sponsorship from Arvin Sango of $10,000 that will pay for registration fees for all baseball and softball players.
You should probably turn your microphone on and put it over there by you.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. We were in the process of putting together a sponsorship ask, and just happened to have a conversation with Arvin Sango, who was really interested in doing something bigger this year than they've normally done. So we had a few conversations. I suggested the opportunity for sponsorships for baseball and softball entries, and really the push behind that was it's really tough for a lot of families with money this year, and I didn't want kids to not be able to play because parents had to make a choice of whether they play baseball or softball or not. And so Arvin Sango understood that. We had really good conversations about it, and they fully supported the $10,000 sponsorship. And so we announced a week ago or 2 weeks ago that all baseball and softball registrations for this year are free. And I think right now we have, close to 40 baseball registrations and 20-something softball registrations so far. I suspect that'll pick up once spring break is over and people are kind of getting back from that. So we're really, really excited, and I can't thank Arvin Sango enough for supporting the kids, believing in the Parks Department, and really, really being very, very supportive of what we do. So I want to thank them officially in a public forum. The next item, again, is about an entity in town with donations. A couple of years ago, before I started, the Cookie Caper, in I believe it was 2022, raised money for a shade structure at Hargan Matthews Park. Before I got here, it wasn't finalized, it wasn't initiated, so I kind of picked that up when I started last year. Worked through the Cookie Caper, gave them some ideas, gave them kind of what we're looking at. They've agreed to that shade structure. We are in engineering right now. We expect to see that sometime this spring, and we'll install it for this summer. So again, a big thank you to Marcy and the folks with the Cookie Caper for making that donation for Hargan Matthews Park, and we'll see the results of that this year as well. So another good example of community supporting what we're doing, so we appreciate that. Kind of some big picture things. We'll go through Sunrise real quick. Year-to-date financials. We've actually had a pretty good spring with the weather helping us out. So far this year, we've had revenues of just under $35,000 and expenses of just a little bit over $36,000. So for February, we're negative $1,500. We had a pretty big weekend again this weekend, which will show up in March. We had close to $4,400 in sales yesterday at the golf course. So we're starting to see big numbers there. We haven't seen a lot of the annual passes being purchased yet, so I anticipate that's gonna start picking up very quickly now. So we'll catch up with that fairly soon. You'll see a lot of, throughout tonight's agenda, design work and kind of master planning. We've been talking a while about the design work for driving range and irrigation and greens and changes at Sunrise. That work is ongoing. We should see some design as far as a final picture of that here in the next couple weeks. Our intent is to advertise a public open house where we will show the public all the master planning we've been doing, which will include Sunrise, it will include Rucker, Brown Gym, and also John Paul Park, which I'll go into a little detail as we move down through the agenda. Any questions on Sunrise? All right. Crystal Beach update. This really is an update on kind of the operational piece that I'm working on. So we've got a couple different components. One is the concession stand. We've gone through and designed the interior of that. We've had the floor re-poured. We'll have new electrical work put in there, some new lighting and some new plumbing. And then we are in the process of purchasing equipment for that facility. That's been rolling in slowly the last couple weeks. That also includes purchasing things like lifeguard towers, chaise lounge chairs, just the operational part of the pool. That is in process as well. We're working through purchasing a lot of that equipment that was not included in the budget. So that's ongoing, so we have all that here well before we open. We purchased chemicals, that's been done. We had another conference call today with our point of sales system operator and trying to figure out our scholarship piece and preloaded cards and all that type of thing. So we're continually having conversations on the operational piece of when you walk in the door, what happens. So that's ongoing as well. So a lot of activity with Crystal Beach on the operations side. Campground update, you have in your packet as well for this year. We had a pretty big January, which is normal. Everybody wants to come in January and book for the big weekends. So we've had that experience. February cooled off like it typically does, but in February we had about $11,400 in sales and our expenses of $3,650. So we have a net of $7,700, all round numbers. I want to remind you that we're doing a much better tracking of expenses this year. So we have a series of taxes and fees that get taken out at the end of the month. We're capturing those on the revenue side, but we're also showing those on the expense side. So our expense numbers from prior years will be higher because we didn't really capture those in prior years, but really most of those are offsets. So housekeeper's tax, sales tax, reservation fees, and then credit card transaction fees, which before we were just paying out of pocket. Now we're capturing and then paying out on an even basis. So it's a net positive for us. So our expenses will go up because we're reflecting those costs, but they're also included in our revenue, so it's an offset. Anybody have any questions on that?
I just had a question on Crystal Beach, because
Sure.
you kind of went, we know, but I think we should tell the public that you have already hired a person to manage the pool this summer.
Correct.
And then just give us an update on your lifeguards and, like, is it still slow? Are you hearing from people? And what avenues have you used to try to recruit lifeguards?
Right. So Shelley Anderson from Southwestern will be our pool manager. We also have Katie Royce, who is going to assist us. Katie may have a intern opportunity this summer. She'll know probably another week or two. So she may be with us to start the pool opening and then leave. And Andy Royce is going to be in charge of swim instructors and taking care of the swim lessons. So the three key people we have for operating the pool are in place as we speak. Whitney Bertzalauskas, our athletic program manager, has a big, strong background in pool and aquatics, so she will be overseeing that group of people. So I think we've got really good, talented people for operating the pool this year. So we're pretty excited about that. Lifeguard-wise, I actually got 2 more applicants in my email today, so they are starting to trickle in much quicker. We've been advertising on social media and trying to get interest on that. Our biggest issue right now, and we're working on this as well, is that we don't have an Instagram page, and that's really more of the social media that teenagers are going to want to look at. So we're trying to work through that process right now with Keeley being gone. How do we capture Instagram and capture that age group, which is really, to me, really key for us in a lot of ways. So that's in process as well, and I think once we have that, we'll be in good shape. But there seems to be a lot more conversations going on about Crystal Beach. I also reached out to the management at Clifty and had conversations with them because their pool is going to open again this summer as well. So we've talked about having the opportunity to work together instead of trying to compete with each other. It's a limited pool of resources, and so we're talking about how do we help each other out with that so we can share resources so they're not in a deficit, we're not in a deficit. They actually raised their hourly rate to match ours, so we didn't have a discrepancy. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to put them at a disadvantage because we're paying more. It'd be great for us, but we want to be a community partner as well. So let's figure out those resources and share those and help each other out. Because there's other things that we can do together to help each other. So a lot going on with Crystal Beach, a lot of layers to the onion that we're hopefully captured pretty much all of that thought of what we need to do for operations. So that's probably spending most of my time right now thinking about Crystal Beach. Update on the comfort station. We went out to bid in early January with a scope for the comfort station. The idea was that it was going to cost, the belief was going to cost $80,000. Numbers came in, the low bid was $170,000, so more than double what was originally anticipated. So we pulled back on that a little bit. We regrouped with Visit Madison last week and kind of talked through the scope once again, refining that scope. I know Visit Madison is looking at going back to the Tourism Board for additional money to help fund what we think the comfort station should be. So I just got a text from Andrew before I came in, Andrew Forrester, and he has to submit that grant request by midnight tonight, so he's working on it right now. So that'll go in today, and then I think March 13th is their board meeting, so if I need to go there for that to have a conversation about the funds for that, I'll do that. So right now it's on hold. We may look at doing some minor things that won't be impacted for the big renovation, some electrical in the lobby area and some things like that we can do now with the money that we have in hand, just to get a few things out of the way. But for the most part, the bulk of that work is probably going to be deferred until November now, until we renovate.
And remind me, because I know the Board of Tourism did commit, was it 40,000?
40,000, correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yes. Really, the next 3 items all kind of go hand in hand. If you remember, back in the fall, we received grants from Bethany Legacy Foundation for schematic design work, really kind of master planning for Brown Gym, for Rucker, and for Sunrise. All those efforts have been ongoing. We have received the final edition of Brown Gym. We have received the final edition of Rucker. That all happened at the end of last week. I have not shared those with the mayor yet, so I need to sit down with him and go through those with him. Once we've done that, we will schedule an open house to reveal to the public what they look like and take input and comments from public, as well as yourselves, as to what we think about them, talk about programming, any ideas that the public might have regarding those master plans. That meeting will be for that. I'm hoping for the second week in April to do that. So we'll make an announcement here very shortly as to the timing of that, so we can give the public enough notice. And then the last really update is the John Paul Park update. Back in 2011, there was a citizen group that came together to do a master plan for John Paul Park. And that, when Mrs. Keller passed away, that plan just kind of died on the vine. Well, the Daughters of American Revolution this past fall approached the city about renovating John Paul Park again. We've formed a committee with citizens and members of the DAR and have revitalized that master plan. We actually got a hold of the original landscape architect company that did the original plan and have worked with them to update with some new ideas and some different thoughts. They are in the process of finalizing that, which we should have on Friday. Our next committee meeting is next Wednesday, the 13th. So we will meet and go over that one last time. And then that master plan will also be rolled out as part of our open house, so we get community input and thoughts on that as well. So a lot of big picture stuff that we're talking about that is years down the road before it gets completed, but we're at least in the planning process right now, thinking about what the future might be.
And just to add to that, because I'm on that John Paul Park committee, we're trying to stay true to the original plans with Jill Keller, and her daughter is one of the members of our board also, our committee, I mean. I have a real passion for this personally, and we want to try to keep it close to what her vision was, because she had such passion for John Paul Park. So fundraising is our next big step, so.
Really for us, the next big challenges that we have, in my opinion, is marketing. We're really the only department in the city that has to go out and find customers. We have to figure out how to bring revenue into the Parks Department to help support our programs and have the Parks Department rely less on general funds that can be used elsewhere in the city. And so with trying to draw additional interest to Sunrise Golf Course and how we get more play out of that, how do we bring more people to the campground, how do we get more people who may be interested in sports tourism to come to Madison. All that's about marketing and getting our name out there and our facilities out there. So I've been pitching that when we replace Keely White, who left, that we get a marketing person that really focuses on the Parks and Rec department. I think probably 75% of what our marketing team does now is for parks anyway. So if we can get somebody who focuses on what we're doing, we can be more timely, we can be more encompassing. We can figure out strategies to get our name and our facilities out there to draw more people into our facilities and help with the revenue to make things profitable again. So that's really kind of our next short-term real big push right now. I feel good about the opportunity, and hopefully we'll have somebody on board in the next month or so. But we're working on that next I think it's important for our success in the future.
Does anybody have any questions for Scott?
I just want to jump back to the beginning of your report and just say, it is fantastic what Arvin Sango is doing for the kids of our community. Just so the public has an idea, how many kids does $10,000 pay for?
The kids would typically pay $20 a person.
Okay.
We've also included in that shirts and hats, which would probably run about $13 to $14 a person. So essentially, when I kind of looked at the numbers real quick, that was 400 kids would cover that money. So part of the conversation with Arvin Sango is to help support the program, because realistically, it's the $20 per student or per participant. So that's $8,000 right off the top. But I was trying to do the math that says, okay, we have to set aside 8,000 of the 10,000, and then how much of the shirt's going to be and the hat's going to be, and that's our 10,000. But the reality of it is, we don't have to set aside 8,000 for the kids because we already have 10,000. So part of the conversation was that it would also help support maintaining the fields. It would also help support hiring umpires and scorekeepers and PA announcers and concession workers. So it really is supporting the whole entire program. By donating $10,000, it supports the entire activity itself, not just registration fees. So we can do the math at $20 a child and say 400 is good, but if we get 500, even better. It's not going to turn us upside down.
Everybody's covered, no matter the numbers.
Everybody's covered.
Okay.
Everybody's covered. We're not putting a limit on applicants. We're not putting a limit on the size of the teams. It's going to be all dependent upon the citizens to come out and register and sign up and make it a great season for us.
And in that line of thinking, you and I had spoken earlier or last week about resending the forms out through the schools now with the free
Yep.
price tag.
Yes.
Like we've already sent the forms once, but we're gonna do it again.
Right. We'll prepare those. I think next week is next week fall, spring break.
Week after next.
Week after. So,
So
we're
this
going to
week
try
will
and
be
get those out probably next week into the schools, because I think 2 weeks is too late for them to come back. We'll get all those back out to the schools probably next week, towards the end of next week, so they'll have them in their folders, just as a reminder that it's now free. So when I meet with Whitney on Thursday, we'll rehash that again.
So spring break is the 25th of March.
18th, week of the 18th.
18th, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So then when would practices start, or when would, I know we used to have workouts, for like evaluations and then a draft, if we're still doing it that way. When are you thinking about all that timing?
Really looking at April. We're thinking practices should start by the second week in April. So we're looking at scheduling a coaches call-out meeting in early April and starting that process then. So within the next month or so,
Okay.
we'll start really putting those pieces together. And I want to kind of build on that. So when I got here, it was my understanding that the Boys and Girls Club used to do T-ball. And then at some point in time, the Parks Department said, well, we're going to do T-ball. And it really hurt the Boys and Girls Club. And so when I got here, I really wanted to mend that fence. And so I met with the Boys and Girls Club and had the conversation with them that we would return T-ball to the Boys and Girls Club. And that our lowest level league, we're going to call it an instructional league. And that's for kids starting at the age of 5 to 7. And typically it would be for somebody who's had a little bit of experience playing baseball, maybe a year of T-ball. But it's going to focus on the fundamentals of baseball and not really worrying too much about keeping score and the competition between teams. So we'll start out with them hitting off a tee, and hopefully by the end of the season there'll be coach pitch. And really kind of build the fundamentals so they understand baseball and enjoying the game, and then that launches them into the minor and the major leagues, where it's really going to start to grow from there. So it's not T-ball per se, it's an instructional league, eye-hand coordination, the fundamentals of the game, the rules of the game, and really get kids to learn about baseball without it being 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and being what I think is too young for what we need to be doing. So I think that kind of captures everybody. So the Boys and Girls Clubs can do T-ball, and then we'll start with instructional league at 5, and just work our way up through the ranks through that process. We'll see how it goes this year, but I think we're doing a lot in basketball. We're doing a lot more fundamentals than we had before, and we're getting really, really good responses to that. So I think that just makes a lot of sense even for baseball. That, I don't think I really started playing baseball until I was probably 7 or 8. So to be 5 and kind of learn the game, I think, is really important. Take the emphasis off winning and losing and keeping score, but let's really build the fundamentals and teach the kids about the game.
Okay, so Scott, that's it for you, correct?
That's it for me.
All right, at this time, we're gonna open it up for public comment. So if you have something you would like to ask us, or add, or request, please come to the podium, give us your first and last name, and make your comment. We'll see the red light if it's on. Oh, there you go.
There's now a red light. Okay. So I'm Jan Vaters at 701 East 2nd Street. You answered most of my questions. Thank you. But have you figured out yet what the hours of Crystal Beach are going to be?
Same as we reported before.
So
12
you're
to-
closing at 6?
12 to 6,
Okay.
programming before and after.
But you haven't identified the programming?
No, not for the evening yet.
Okay. So I will wait to buy my pass. Thank you.
I'm Jed Skillman, 1505 Michigan Road, right next to the school over there. New to Madison, been here a year and a half. And, you know, when you come into a new environment, your eyes are really going. You really see things. And this is a terrific town, has a great arts community, has a fantastic music community. Great place for architecture, just fantastic for architecture. My background was in photography, television commercials, and my love was always in movies. And I've talked to a couple of you, and I don't know, I want to ask, have you carved in stone the schedule for this summer's movies in the park?
I think we have a survey coming out. We have those dates.
Okay.
I think a survey may be coming out this week.
Where's the survey going to be?
It'll be on our website.
Okay. Well, really what I wanted to suggest to you is we've been here enough for 2 summers and we've seen the movies that you have. Any way you can throw in a couple of classics, because the 20th, speaking of art, the 20th century art form was the movies or jazz. But the 20th century art form officially has been declared movies, and there are some great ones out there. And there is a value to a lot of old, they made thousands of them. I mean, thousands of them. All the studios out there made like 300 movies a year. You know, the main release and the B picture that went at the bottom of the bill, they really cranked that stuff. Most of which, you know, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. They were formulaic. But out of that, there are a lot that are worth passing on to another generation. And many of them would fit into the category of family films because as you all know, they had a production code, so even if it dealt with an adult topic, it was done in such a way that the kids wouldn't know what you're talking about. And that's not what I'm mentioning here. I'm talking about kids' adventure films, action films, the classic Errol Flynn as Robin Hood, The Wizard of Oz, things like that. And if you lace that in with a regular program of your Tom Hanks comedy or Tom Cruise action picture, you build a connection between the past and the sort of present. And I'd like to be involved. If you have a survey that you're sending out, see if we can put these on a couple of titles on the survey and see if there's any reaction to them, or just plug them in and see what happens because most of the real old movies most people don't even know about.
Right.
You know, they're gone. And I'm just here to advocate that we don't entirely forget them.
Well, I appreciate that. If you're willing to share your email address with me,
Will do.
We'll reach out to you, and if you've got a list of ideas, it's always helpful for us to say, hey, these are some great ideas. If we can certainly look at those and incorporate them. But if you got a list of classics you'd love to see.
I could put a list together.
Yep.
Wasn't prepared to mention specific
No, that's
titles.
fine.
But, they're out there.
Yeah, no, we'd be more than happy to hear that and look at that and
Okay.
take it into consideration.
Glad you're agreeable.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jed. Jed's already come in and talked to Tanya one-on-one, who is in charge of our movie series, and he came and talked to me also. Was Sunset Boulevard another one that we talked
That
about?
wouldn't work. That was one with heavy adult content, but if
Okay,
you didn't know
sorry.
what it was,
Right.
you wouldn't get it.
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
But that wouldn't work for a family. You want
Okay.
something with, kid stuff, dogs, horses, railroads, submarines, that kind of thing.
I will send you Scott's address so you can
Okay,
send
and
those
I
in.
have a card I can give you when we're done here. Yep.
I did want to mention one more thing, which I think is important. We are going to have another skate night. We are looking at Friday, April 5th for that. Right now, our thinking is that we will do 5:30 to 6:30 for the young kids to come out and kind of have their hour without a lot of adults on the floor. And then 6:30 to 9:30 for free skate like we did last time. Slightly adjustment on the hours. We figured out some things that need to be fixed from the last one that we're going to fix for this one, but we hope we have as much, if not more, of a turnout than we did last event. Looking at the numbers, we think we had between 300 and 350 people. It was a great turnout. It was a great night. A lot of people were very happy and very excited about it. So we're looking forward to another one. We are looking at probably having these 4 times a year, typically fall, winter, early spring. As long as the turnout holds up and people are excited about it, we'll continue to do it. So look for the advertisements and the information coming out on that here probably next week or so.
You care to elaborate on any of the things that you're evaluating on improving next time?
Yeah, really the skate rental piece of that was a bottleneck. So we think we're going to move that location and have a different process for that, which will make it easier for picking up and dropping off. We're also probably, because we're doing that, going to move the concession area to a different location. I think that was really the biggest bottleneck for us, was the skate pickup and drop off. We also had 100 pairs of skates, and we pretty much had those sold out within the first 45 minutes. So we want to increase that to 150, making sure we have enough of the most popular sizes so people aren't waiting like they did last time. A lot of credit to the community. Everybody was happy. Nobody got upset about the wait. We really didn't have anybody with an issue. They were very happy just to kind of hang out and do their thing. So I think that's really for us the biggest piece of that. The other thing we're going to probably do is do a pre-sale for tickets. So if you have a ticket, you can just walk in and go skating. The only time you'd stop in is if you wanted to rent skates, and you have to stop and get that ticket for renting skates. So we think the two of those things will make things go a lot smoother and quicker and get people in the door a lot faster. So it was a good learning experience. Again, the people were great. They were fantastic. And we had some bad weather that night too. So we're hoping that with good weather that we'll have much larger turnout. But I think everybody thought it was a great night, and we certainly thought it was as well.
Did the floor hold up okay? With the state?
All
Did the
was-
floor hold
yeah,
up okay?
No
Yeah.
issues whatsoever. Yeah.
And, the lines, were the lines good?
They were actually, we were shocked.
Okay.
I mean, there were a few just marks, but nothing
Yeah.
major.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took 50 pictures before the event, and there were plenty of marks on that floor well before the event. So.
Great.
Going forward, Scott, the only thing I would say is if you wanted volunteers to be the referees, regular skating rinks, there's a referee out there. That would help, because some of the kids were going the wrong way, and,
We had somebody for that position, but they were out of town and didn't get back in time. So, and we had a lot of volunteers that would help us do setup. So we'll reach out. We'll have that communication if you want to volunteer to reach out to us. So
let the skate company know that it was their fault, a lot of the toe jobs.
absolutely, yeah. We're not looking at that same company again.
Totally on them.
Yep.
I mean,
We're looking at purchasing commercial skates versus, those are great. They're cool looking, but they didn't hold up really well. So we're looking at a different company for those. Yep.
that's the only things that I noticed was like, we would be happy to help you referees, because that was, and I'm glad you're doing the little kids earlier, because that was like, Shirley came and she's like, I'm not skating with 6-year-olds because I can't risk falling.
Right, exactly. Yep. So we think that'll take help with that a lot. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else from the public have anything they'd like to ask? Anybody up here have any more questions? Mrs. Ferguson, can you come to the microphone?
Does it tell you how many
So,
based on attendance?
well, it's really based upon the stations at the pool. So right now, the pool's designed for 7 lifeguards. What's happened in the past is that the pool would be open for 45 minutes, they blow the whistle, everybody get out of the pool for a 15-minute break. We're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have enough lifeguards on duty to rotate lifeguards, so the pool will stay open the full time. We won't be having a 15-minute break every hour. The lifeguards will rotate through different stations, all day long. They'll get their breaks when it's time for them to hit their break station, and they'll all be in a different spot throughout the day, so everybody will be cross-trained on every station for every activity. So we're hoping to have 10 or 12 a day, 2 different shifts. We've kind of got that mapped out right now, but yeah, there'll be 10 or 12 lifeguards every day.
I didn't know that. I was like looking at the pool today going, how many people do you have to have? And then I know there's a lot of ladies that drive from here to Beebe to swim. And I'm like, are we recruiting them? Because they obviously are avid swimmers. So, you know, you said retirees to come back to work. I'm like, yeah, not me, but maybe somebody else does, because there's a lot of them that go to the Y.
Right.
So I was like, to Ms. Ricketts, hey, you want to be a lifeguard?
Love to have them as a lifeguard, absolutely, absolutely.
Roger's here, let's.
Okay, our next park board meeting will be Monday, April 1st at 5 o'clock. So if I could get a motion to adjourn? A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming.
I second.
David made the motion and Jake seconded.